Good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's my pleasure to get together with you most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central. We talk about strategies, tips, techniques, support each of you. A little aside, so some of you will frequently ask, kind of, how did all this get started? So back in the day, I was a public high school teacher. So I taught economics, I taught accounting, I taught intro to business, a couple other courses at a small school in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so started teaching the students, high school students, how to build business plans, how to build financial projections. We would do presentations and pitches, pretending that we were asking for loans from banks or investor capital. And all of a sudden, I started getting these calls and emails from parents, from aunts, from uncles saying, "What is it you're teaching the kids at Aubrey?" That's the name of the school, Aubrey High School. Well, we're teaching these young people how to start and grow businesses because the rest of the world seems to want to teach people how to get a job. My role was to teach them how to create jobs and stimulate the economy. So with that, then we started getting inquiries from the community. The Chamber of Commerce called and said, "Hey, could you come over and do a workshop for our chamber members? They need to hear this." There was an apartment complex that was right next to the school property. And I don't know how all that works, but I guess it was Section 8, and they had to do a certain amount of community financial literacy. So every quarter they'd have me coming over. So the bottom line is what you and I do, it's real, it's legitimate, but it's unusual. Most people do not know what you and I know, which is there's a formula to get funding. It's not a game, it's not illegal, it's not a scam, it's not a farce, but you need to be fundable if you want business funding. Just like if you wanted to go get a mortgage, is it a mystery to go get a mortgage? No. You need to figure out the right mortgage based upon the property you want to buy, and you need to qualify for it. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about a couple items today. But as a public school teacher, one of the things that they told me that I was supposed to do is on the whiteboard, before the students came into class, I was supposed to put some sort of task up on the whiteboard. And so that allowed the students to come in, look up at the whiteboard, start thinking, start doing, and hopefully behave, not cause trouble. Well, with that concept, I'm going to ask you today a simple question. I'd like you to go ahead and type a simple one sentence answer into the Q&A. It's like a chat box of Zoom. If you were to be asked, which I guess you are being asked, what is it that entrepreneurs do? In one sentence, what would your response be? I want to give you a moment to respond, to type your answer into the Q&A. Some of you, I feel, may come to the Zooms and very passively participate, and I think that's unlikely to generate results. So what we hope to do is to give you real tools, real resources, so we can do what? And it's this question. Entrepreneurs solve problems. I'm going to put it in all capital letters, and a number of you said that. So successful entrepreneurs solve problems, and Tram responded, a number of you responded that way. Now, there's many different problems they could solve, but if you're an entrepreneur and you don't solve someone else's problem, it's pretty unlikely they're going to pay you anything, and your business will probably go out of business. So with that being said, the problem that you and I solve is providing financial literacy, which is secondary. Most people don't want to be taught financial literacy, but they want access to capital. So the problem that you and I primarily solve is providing access to capital. Some people will come to you and they'll want a scam. They'll want something that's too good to be true. I have one prospective client. Well, no, he's a current client, not a prospective client. He's a client, but he wants $50 million. And baby, he wants it now. But he doesn't even come close to qualifying for it. But that's what he wants. And in his mind, we better give it to him or we're a scam. So when it comes to accessing capital, We need to find the right type of capital, the right source of funding, and we need to qualify for it. But what we know is there's some certain basic concepts that are necessary to have what we call a fundable business. So there's just some basic elements, no matter what you want the money for, if it's for real estate or equipment or working capital, to buy a franchise, to acquire an existing business. There's just some basic elements to have a fundable business. It's what's needed. And most of these small business owners, most of these entrepreneurs, they don't even know what it takes to have a fundable business, and thus most of the time they don't. So if you and I are going to solve this problem together, what we need to do is have a convenient and affordable, a predictable solution to that problem. And we've evolved. We've been at this quite a while, and for the longest period, we would work with clients to build a fundable business. And when we worked at the SBA, the three of us that formed the nonprofit, we all worked at the SBA before we formed the nonprofit. But building a fundable business has a high degree of volatility to it because you're building something from scratch. And so finally, we came to our senses and realized what we really should do is just provide everyone a fundable shelf corp, like a business in a box. So the entity is there, it's in good standing with the federal government and the state government, the business plan's already developed, the financial projections already there. We provide the 3 C's, if you remember: credit, collateral, capacity. So it's all there. And this makes our lives much easier, and it makes it extraordinarily profitable for each of you. So let's go back then and pivot to the top agenda item. The first call to order is to make sure that each of you who are currently a reseller. Now, if you're not a reseller, that's okay. If you want to become a reseller, it's free. There's no contract to sign, no money to pay. But if you're not a reseller and you want to become one, you can become one on 509pacific.org. Frankly, I don't care that much about you. But if you are a current reseller, I care a lot about you, and I need to make sure that we're doing what we promised and supporting you. So that's number one. If you are a current reseller, are you open for business? And I'd like you to go ahead and respond yes or no in the chat box. Because if the answer is no, we need to resolve that today. There's a lot of people that need help from you. And by you helping them solve their problem, you can make a crazy amount of money. A crazy amount of money. And if you don't understand the comp model, we can describe that again. We covered it as recent as yesterday. But most importantly, I need to make sure that you are open for business. And if not, why? Because what should happen, and we're not perfect, no one's perfect, but what should happen is if you say that you want to be a reseller on our 509pacific.org website, we should be sending you an email. The email has different resources, but one of which it has an editable client agreement. And you take that editable agreement, you remove our information because you're a reseller, it has your information, not ours. Change the price you want, and you're open for business. I mean, within 15 minutes, you should be open for business. So Alfonso says he's not open for business. Jonathan Clark says he's not. So what is it that's missing, Jonathan and Alonzo? And I'm so glad you're here, and I don't take offense. And Sonia, so we have out of 544, it looks like we have 3 of you that are not open yet. And that's my fault, not your fault. But we want to solve that. Joe says he's not open. So if you don't have the onboarding email, go ahead and go request it. Even if you think you've requested it before, request it again. We'll send it to you, and we'll go ahead and send you a text right afterwards. Because I know some of you are using Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, Proton, porn.com. If you're using any of those consumer emails, when we send you emails that have attachments or links, it may go into spam, so you may not see it. So let us know if you're not open for business, because once you have that onboarding email that should be sent to you once you fill this out, Then it's on you. You just take that editable Word document, remove our information, add yours, replace yours, replace ours with yours, change pricing the way you want, and then you're open for business. So I don't want that to ever be a barrier. All right. So as we move forward, we're growing quickly and things are going really well, but we're not always as responsive to some of you resellers as you're wanting us to be. So as we're hitting some capacity constraints, what we're going to be doing is starting April 1st. It's not April Fool's Day, so we'll just say April, because when I say April 1st, it sounds like a joke. But in April, we're going to have state directors. And so we started talking about this recently. Any of you that would like to be a state director, let's focus on that now. We want to make sure that not only as a reseller that you're open for business, but if you want to be a state director, we need to get you prepared now, because come April we want to be really moving. So all state directors are also resellers, but you don't have to be a state director to be a reseller. So it's like an organizational chart, right? So we have the bosses are the state directors, and then the team would be the resellers. Now, so the resellers will report into state directors. So all state directors must also be a reseller. There's no cost to be a reseller. There's no cost to be a state director. So we're not MLM. It's not a franchise. We're not selling you anything. Resellers are paid directly off of the clients they develop. State directors are paid overrides of the clients that their resellers develop. So is everyone clear on the comp model, or do we need to go through the comp model, the compensation, how you're paid in either of these capacities? We covered it as recently as yesterday, but again, if that's not clear, we should discuss it, because I want you to be motivated. So what's the role of the state director? So the role of the state director is to manage a team of resellers and to support them and train them and just make sure that they get the support they need. When we just had a few resellers, they could just call into us, but now we have hundreds and hundreds, and we're about to sign a national contract that's going to bring us 3,000 new resellers with that national organization. So we just need to have some hierarchy. So Tasha asked if we could go ahead and go through the comp model. So let's go ahead and do that. So resellers are paid two ways. They're paid up front. How much are they paid up front for each client that buys a Shelf Corp from them? It's up to the reseller, because they pick the price. But most of you are marking up the Shelf Corp by $5,000. Now remember, the client has no out-of-pocket costs. So let's go ahead and add that. Client has zero out-of-pocket cost, and the Shelf Corp cost is 100% reimbursed by the grant. So it's a great deal for the client. But today I'm not really going to talk about from the client perspective. I'm talking about from your perspective. So resellers are paid two ways: up front, based upon the markup of the Shelf Corp. Most of you are marking it up by 5,000. Client pays nothing out of pocket. They'll sign the contract with you. We'll get their financing set up. Then they'll pay you whatever the sales price is. Anything above the wholesale cost, the 10,000, is your profit. So you're making this up front. And then the bigger amount is off of what we'll call the back end, which is a performance fee, sometimes called a success fee, and that is 5%. So after the client gets the Shelf Corp from you and pays for it, which costs them nothing out of pocket, we finance that. Once they pay you, you're making 5,000 profit up front, and then it takes us about 7 days to deliver the Shelf Corp to the client. Then we're able to go to funding. We'll pursue. We guarantee a minimum of 100,000, but certainly We can do more, and many clients want more than 100,000. But regardless of the dollar amount, you make 5 points of whatever their capital raise is. So that's how resellers are paid. So I'll go to the state directors in a moment, but any questions on the reseller comp? Crazy simple. You control how much you make. So my argument is you can never come back and say, well, I don't get paid enough. 5,000 to sign up a client, to refer a client in, that's not enough. Well, great. Then mark it up. Make 7,000, make 8,000, make 10,000. It's up to you, right? No one's controlling the price but you. Now the back end is set. We charge the client a 10% performance fee, which is reasonable in the industry, and you're making half of that. Okay, so I think we're good there. So what are state directors? Oh, looks like maybe a new question came up. Michael's asking the wholesale cost. So the wholesale cost is 10,000 for the shelf corp. Everything above 10,000, Michael and everyone else, is your profit. So this example, we're assuming that you're marking it up 5,000, selling to the client for 15,000. But again, they have zero out of pocket, and then they get reimbursed 100% of that 15,000 through the grant once they've gone through funding. So in the end, they're paying zero for the shelf corp, zero up front. And then once they get the reimbursement from the grant, they've paid zero, but you still have made 5,000 a deal. Now, and I understand, like Michael and a number of you, $5,000 didn't get you excited. But remember, our average reseller is doing a deal a day, about 20 a month. Well, when you start making 5,000 a day and you do that on a fairly consistent basis, you do that 20 times in a month, that's 100,000 a month, right? There's a lot of people that don't make that at their full-time job, and this is probably a side gig for you. And then that's not even counting the back end. Okay, so we've covered how resellers are paid. This is set. This is up to you. Are we all clear? State directors receive an override. So we're not MLM, we're not network marketing. Just because there's an override, I guess there must be two R's in override. Just because we pay an override doesn't mean that it's some sort of unscrupulous business model. There's lots of industries, a lot of examples, even in the financial industry, where there's overrides. Insurance agents have overrides. Real estate agents have overrides, lots of overrides. Okay, so the question is, how much is the override? It's the same. It's the same. So as a state director, every time you have a reseller that sells a shelf corp, they get 5,000, you get 5,000. Every time you have a reseller that makes 5% on the back end, you make the same. So it's incredibly the simplest comp plan ever. Now, I forget if it was David or who the other day said, well, wait. If we're paying out 5% to the reseller and we're paying out 5% to the state directors, that's all of it. That's right. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We don't get any part of that. We wouldn't even add this in if it wasn't necessary to attract the best of the best, to attract people like Jeff, to attract people like Mr. Certain, to attract people like Joy Grace and LJ, because I know you all have a lot of high earning potential. If all we could offer you was 5,000 a deal, 100,000 a month, you'd walk, right? You can make more money than that doing a lot of things. But once we add this, I don't think you can beat it. I don't think there is a better comp plan out there, especially if you're active. Okay, so then I see Lewis's question, and so let me try to address that. Oh, before I get to that, Doug's asking a question. So with the reimbursement, this does not claw back, that's a term, but it does not reduce your income. So the grant reimburses the cost of the shelf corp. It does not come back and reduce your income at the reseller level or the state director level. Thank you, Doug, for that question. So in terms of difference, what makes a good reseller versus what makes a good state director? Well, resellers are often dabblers. These are individuals that they're looking to help people sometimes, make a little extra money, but it's just a side gig. Where state directors, I mean, if you do the math, well, I guess we'll do the math. but we'll put bigger commitment. Because all of a sudden now you realize as a state director, you think completely differently. As a reseller, you're focused on where do I go find clients to help so I can make this money. This money. As a state director, you're not thinking about clients as much. You're thinking about where can I go find resellers. And I've showed you yesterday, and I can bring it up again today if any of you missed, the best place to go find these people if you're going to be a state director. But the bottom line is state directors have a tremendous income potential, because let's assume that your goal, if you're the state director, take Prelo in Georgia, for example, what is his priority for the month of April? It's to go get a handful of resellers that are not going to be as much dabblers they're going to produce, because the average reseller does a deal a day. So let's add that. So average reseller does a deal per day. So it's not full-time commitment, side gig, but at that, that's 20 per month. And that's what you've heard us talk about. Just be average. You don't need to be superhero. You don't need to be an all-star like Ivory. You don't have to be an all-star like Pauline or Rod. Just do a deal a day. But at that point, that puts the reseller at 100K per month. Good side income. But that magnifies with the state director. So then the question just becomes, how many resellers do you have? Because again, there's the match. So if we had, let's say, 10 average resellers on your team, and I hate to use those terms because now it sounds like MLM or whatever. So each of them are making 100,000. How much would you make? I'll let you do the math for a second. So if you're a state director, like Prelo in Georgia, if you're a state director and you have 10 resellers that are average, how much money would you make per month? How much would you make per month on the front end, separate from the back end, on the front end? Well, Chris says the same, but I'm asking you to multiply it. So if the reseller, you have 10 resellers that are each making 100,000. If you're the state director, how much are you making now? Because you have 10 of them. You're not making the same. You're making the same on an individual basis, but you have 10 of them. How much would that be? What would your income be? Well, if the average reseller is making 100,000 and you have 10 of them, what does that equal? What does that equal? Can anyone do the math on that and type it into the Q&A? Joe, no, your math is wrong. I apologize, Joe. So if the average reseller is doing a deal a day and making 100,000 a month, and you're the state director, Joe, and you have 10 of them, what's that math? Prelo's got it. It's 1 million. So am I promising you $1 million a month? No, I'm just showing you what we do is legitimate. It works. It's needed. We're solving a problem. We're helping people have a fundable shelf court. Now, some of you are real hesitant. You're like, well, I need to make sure that this works. Well, go look at the agreement that we sent you, right? Because when you said you wanted to be a reseller, you didn't pay any fee. You didn't sign a contract. We sent you the editable agreement, right? So if you've read that, is there anything about that you think that we can't deliver 100% of the time? The answer is absolutely not. There is literally no risk of us not delivering 100% of what's in that agreement 100% of the time. There's no risk. So I think some of you may not just be wired for sales, and that's okay. Or some of you may not even, frankly, understand what it is that we do. And so that really comes back to you. So if you've requested to be a reseller, we should have sent you the onboarding packet, the implementation packet. It has the editable agreement. Look at it, dissect it, and come back to us tomorrow and say, well, I do have a concern about you delivering this or that. There won't be any concerns. It's a bulletproof agreement. It's a bulletproof value proposition for the clients. All right, so Rod's asking, can you be a state director for more than one state? I guess theoretically, but the first step of becoming, and that kind of gets us back up to here, the first step to becoming a state director isn't to pay some money or to sign some contract and sign your life away. It's to prove yourself. So Rod and everyone else, if you want to be considered as a state director, you've got to bring on at least 2 clients this week. Because if you're not good as a reseller, why in the world would we want to put you in a leadership role where we're putting people on your team and counting on you, training them to replicate what you've done? So that's number one, Rod. Before you start thinking about being the state director of 16 states in the western side of the United States, we need to start with production. So you've got to have at least 2 deals this week between now and the beginning of April to even be considered. Otherwise, work hard in April and then we can come back and revisit your leadership role in May. But that's the minimum. If you can't do 2 between now and May 1st, you're not ready to be a state director. But I believe any one of you, every one of you should be able to do at least 2. But that doesn't mean that everyone wants to be a state director. All right. Pauline's kind of asking me to dig in more to the state director role. So the most important thing or activity that a state director does is managing, training, and supporting their resellers. And so let me go ahead and pull it up. We struggled with this yesterday because my computer was running slow yesterday. So I used to work after I was a high school teacher. I worked for the SBDC, Small Business Development Center. So this is like a subdivision of the SBA. It's funded by the SBA. We talked about this yesterday. So you can go to americassbdc.org. We can go to the main page here. So you see what it looks like. And you can click on Find Your SBDC. So these are government employees I'm going to show you. These are not entrepreneurs. They don't think the way you and I do. They get a salary. They get paid per month what you and I'm sorry, they get paid per year what you and I make per month. So in other words, they don't make much money. They make less than 100,000 a year. You and I should be at least making 100,000 a month. But what's the point? The point is, for instance, Prelo in Georgia. He can go over here and find every SBDC in Georgia. If you're going to be a state director, because the question that we're answering, I think it's from Pauline, I forgot now, is what does the state director do? Well, the state director is out there. We need to make sure you have a company car so you look good, company credit card, so you have money, and you're going to probably take these people to lunch, whining and dining, and I don't mean alcohol, but getting out and developing relationships is the key role of the state director, in addition to overseeing your team of resellers. So let's just say in Georgia, how many SBDCs are there for the state director to interface with? Because these are a gold mine for referrals. And frankly, you could be hiring a lot of this staff to come work for you. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I picked the wrong one. 18, 19, too many of these. 20. And so each of them have their own websites. And we talked about this yesterday. And each of them have their own team. Let's see if I can find who the team is. Hopefully it'll show us. Some of their websites may be different than others. But if I were you as a state director and I'm looking to hire people to come on, well, let's go back, because apparently this is not going to give us their employees, which is what we were looking for. Let's go back to a different one. Each of these have their own website. So let's go to this one instead and see if we can get the staff. Here we go. Now we go. So if I'm Prelo in Georgia running the state, what I would be doing is I would be trying to hire Chelsea. I'd be trying to hire Gavantes. I'd be trying to hire Dr. Schnichter and Angelica, because these people, they know our industry. They have referral relationships, and they have clients that they can bring you. So as a state director, if you don't want to hire people, you don't have to. But you got to remember, these are government employees, right? So these are not entrepreneurs like you and I. You and I could go show them, hey, you could become a reseller and make a ton of money, but probably 1 out of 10 of these people would be interested in entrepreneurial pursuits. That's not the way they're wired. They want jobs. So you could hire these people and they would be a freaking gold mine. Now, they could also become a referral partner. It's possible. And so when we started all of this, I was one of these people, not in Georgia, but I was one of these people. And then I was at a conference in Washington, D.C., met some other of these people, and 3 of us, Chuck, Mark, and I, all started a nonprofit. So there are some of these people that'll do entrepreneurial things, but many of them don't. So you would need to hire them if you wanted. But these folks, I mean, if you offered them a salary of 100,000 a year with some nice bonuses, they might consider leaving their government job because, as we've seen in the press, President Trump, and we're not political, but President Trump is reducing the size of government, and they're reducing budgets, and they're firing government employees. So this is a great time to start approaching these SBDC employees and offering them a job to work for you. And these people can be a gold mine. And you can see the credibility that this gentleman has. Roberto's asking if you're going to pay them hourly. I don't know. I'd pay them like 75 an hour if I were paying them hourly, or put them on a salary. That's up to you. But the bottom line is, as a state director, you want to build a team of resellers, and resellers are other entrepreneurs, but you can also actually build a staff if you want. And I'm a strong believer that hiring these types of people for your staff members would be outstanding. So with that being said, we're out of time. Any other questions anyone has? We had a 2-point agenda item. The first was making sure that you're open for business. I think we've covered that. You should have the implementation email. If you don't have that, then give us a call or email us or request it again. Best thing, probably just request it again. We'll send it to you again, and we'll immediately send you a text to say, okay, we just sent it to you, because some of you, again, are using consumer emails where it lands. Alfonso says he needs help editing this document, and that's where we need state directors, right? Because we've got a lot of resellers that just lack basic computer skills, and we don't have the bandwidth to teach people Microsoft Word. So, Alonzo, yes, help is coming for you, because we need state directors to work with individuals like yourself, Alonzo, where you've got clients, but you just don't know how to edit the agreement. So help is coming. Tasha asked the email to request information. Just email support@Business Paralegal Corp, and we'll further help you if you need. And then we'll be back tomorrow morning, right? So to further assist. But what we should have learned from today, let's summarize, is that it's very easy to be open for business as a reseller, right? Within 15 minutes, you should be open for business, ready to make money. It's not get rich quick, and it's not the type of money. You look at Michael Newton, the type of money that he makes currently. I realize an extra 5,000 a day is just fun money for a lot of you, but 5,000 a day, be average, do a deal a day, extra 100,000 a month, right? Not a waste of your time. If you want to be a leader, become a state director. No contract, no money to pay, not trying to sell you something, but it's a bigger role. Income is crazy big, but it's based on you, right? How many resellers do you have? Like right now, if you were the state director where Alonzo is, we could put Alonzo with you. You could help Alonzo sign 2 clients today. So you would be making 10,000 today off of Alonzo alone. So the need is there. The need is there. All right. If you need anything else, let us know. We'll be back tomorrow. Past trainings are on YouTube. And thank you for your time. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.